right. Hello! Let's say hi.
Okay.
Let's say hello.
All right. Hello! Welcome back to the Podcast Club. This is officially season 4.
This is officially season 4.
Mind
oh my
blow.
god.
I'm Ella. This is your host, Dasha.
Dasha.
We are students at the New York Film Academy, and if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the podcast.
In our shoes. Wow, that's been actually a minute since we did our last several episodes. And I feel a bit even anxious again.
No,
I finally
guys,
feel nervous.
are you watching us right now?
Yeah,
Jeez.
last time we did it 3 episodes. I felt very chill, and I felt like it was just you and me. And now we're going back to kind of
having a guest on
having
today.
a guest and talking about stuff and
Yeah, what's new with you? What are we? We're in our 6th semester now.
Yeah, we're
at
6th semester.
School.
Same. I see you almost every day.
Pretty much every day.
Yeah, that's
it's
crazy.
a lot.
That's a lot. Sorry
Yeah, I see
about
you're
that.
wearing this Colorado hoodie today. Yeah, look at that. It's kind of wild. I don't know if you guys knew. I happen to be from Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm wearing it.
What's
today.
going on with that? Yeah. Crazy.
I just feel like cozy and stuff. I don't know. What should I wear? Like Ukrainian stuff?
I don't know. I mean, hey, represent.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take that.
Dasha! Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Wow.
Yeah, this is me.
Yeah, wow. I like the shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. It really reminds me this girl that I know. Yeah, wow.
I don't know if you know her, but sometimes I talk about her. And I have actually like a talking show, like we both yappers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
we tend to just like yap over.
Well, I don't know about you, but like me and her, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I can't. I want to talk about it. It's really nice. It was my birthday, guys, so wish me a happy birthday.
21!
Like a month and a half
21!
ago at this point, it was my birthday. But since we've seen you last. And,
yes, and she's a great person, and I want to just say thank you so much that we're doing this fucking podcast together. It's been a funny journey, it's been a long journey, and we're probably going to talk about our journey a bit later in other podcasts, hopefully. Because I think it's a funny thing to reflect on. And I'm just happy to do it with you, because you're just such a professional and funny and silly goose.
Dasha, don't stop. You're all right.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm wearing your t-shirt and not mine. All right. So last time we were shooting, we had a lottery going on.
Yes, we did.
And thank you guys all for donating and for participating and for willing to help and support us. So we did a randomizer, and we found a person who won the lottery. And we announced them in our Instagram, by the way, you can find a link below. And the person for today is Jishnu.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks
it's
for coming
pleasure.
on. Jishnu is a friend of the podcast. He's worked on behind the scenes for a lot of episodes, and now here's his gorgeous face.
I'm out here in front of the camera. It's very bizarre, I'm not going to lie. it's... You get in your own head. It's like, oh my God, I'm so used to being back there and like watching people and judging sometimes.
Oh, judging? Come on.
Sometimes,
you're better than that.
I'm like, it's not always negative, but yeah.
We met you, what's crazy, in this room for the first time.
Yes.
It's been like a year.
Since.
Even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Had no idea who you were.
Me neither.
We were doing...
I had no idea who I was
Lost
at
that point? Yeah, that's okay. I feel the same. We were doing our 2nd semester acting for film production workshop. And I had a scene with another guy, Logan, who also was on our podcast. And you were doing a scene, right?
With Sachita, which, by the way, actually, it's both of their birthdays, today and yesterday.
Oh,
so.
Yes, by the way, good.
It's my birthday day after tomorrow. So we're almost there. Yeah.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. Yeah, it's coming.
Happy early birthday!
Thank you.
You Libra?
I'm a Libra, yeah.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, turning 22. It's yeah. The fact that I'm aging is slowly dawning on me, and that's a little scary.
You're being young. You're being young adult.
Yeah, exactly. Paying taxes, sort of. Sometimes, depending on how I feel, And,
It's gonna go out, you know that.
That's okay. That's okay. The IRS is, I'll deal with them. I have my ways.
Yeah, and we were doing shoots, and I remember that for me it was a great experience. I really appreciated the team, and I had fun. And then for a year, we were not seeing each other. I did not remember you. Did not probably remember me. It was just like we were there, you know, like
yeah.
we were
I've been
there.
around. You know, I think we crossed paths at some points because I used to come to NIFA, like, because I worked at NIFA kind of like on a contractual basis. So it's like they would need, if they needed a gaffer or a key grip for a few days, they would basically hire me from outside.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, so I was here quite a few times, and I like being here because, you know, it's a nice environment. It's like, I spent 2 years here, I spent a lot of my time, met a lot of people, so it's always nice to like come back. And I haven't been back for a couple of months, so it's nice to be
You've
back.
been studying filmmaking BFA?
Yes, so I did the filmmaking BFA with Nizami.
Nizami,
out
our
of Canada.
director.
Yeah, we were in the same class together, and unfortunately the first year happened to be online. So I was in India and like working on, you know, Eastern Standard Time. So my classes would start at 7 p.m. and end at like 5 a.m. So it's like that 1 year permanently like messed up my schedule.
Yeah.
Because like now I'm still, I wouldn't say suffering, but it's like I'm still like on that same wave of like not being able to sleep until 5.
Sure,
But
a year of you're awake at night and
yeah,
sleeping
exactly.
during
A
the
year
day.
of essentially just being nocturnal. But I mean, it was still fun. Obviously, you didn't get to like actually touch the equipment. You didn't get to
Well,
like,
I was
you know.
going to ask how for the actors that I know that did the NIFA program, it was, I couldn't imagine acting like through a camera, but you still don't need to like learn how to work with any forms of equipment. So if you don't have the equipment on you, how do you?
You're kind of going in blind. I mean, they, you know, in their defense, like they did try their best. You know, with the cinematography classes, they had like multiple iPads around the room, and they would like kind of like go and show what's going on. But of course, like that's not the same as being there and actually touching things. And I think, you know, that's one of the biggest selling points of NIFA, which is like, you know, it being so practical, which is something I love about it.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of other schools, I think that NIFA does a good job in like getting you in there, you know, and actually like doing it instead of like studying it through books. So, and that was a big reason for why I joined. And, you know, the first year, that whole thing was not there. But regardless, I still enjoyed the screenwriting classes, the directing classes. You know, there was still a lot to learn even without actually being there. And it kind of eased the transition into coming into New York because, like, you know, I got here, I started NIFA right after high school. And normally, like, I would have to just land in New York and then start making friends here. And that's like, it's kind of a daunting thing, you know, you're moving to the other side of the world. But having that 1 year online and just getting to like get to know the people online, but also having my friends back home. So that kind of eased me into when I finally came here, and I already knew people, I was already comfortable with them. So that transition was a lot easier moving to New York because of that. But yeah, so I spent a year and a half doing the BFA, and I dropped out at some point. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know. I think
I didn't
you guys
know.
don't know?
No, but
Yeah.
you came back.
No, I dropped out. I didn't graduate from NIFA. I don't know. Yeah, so that's kind of.
NIFA alumni.
Yeah, I'm not technically NIFA alumni. I mean, almost. I mean, you know,
it counts.
Almost. I was at the graduation. You know, they gave me a robe and everything. It was very cute. I mean, of course, not in like the actual stage, but like, you know, when people were taking pictures, and my friend Sebastian, who was I think supposed to be here today, but yeah, he gave me his gown and like his thing and everything. I took some pictures.
Honorary.
You know, yeah, exactly. It felt like an honorary graduation. It was nice. But yeah, the reason I dropped out was, so it was during, so NIFA is 9 trimesters, so 3 over the course of 3 years. And we had just finished our 7th trimester, and the 8th one is essentially your thesis semester. I don't know if this is like controversial to say, but I mean, it's weird saying it while I'm sitting here. But essentially, it was like you pay the entire fee, you know, your semester fee, and then you pay to make your own film as well, and then you spend the rest of the semester crewing up on other people's films.
Yeah.
So, and by that point, by the 7th semester, I had kind of figured that I did not really want to be a director. I wanted to be more behind the camera, be DP/gaffer. I fell in love with lighting and, you know, cameras and lenses, and that kind of like became the thing that I was interested in. So it didn't make a lot of sense for me to continue making my own film and spending my own money, plus also paying the tuition. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I figured like I could save up that money and just kind of, but I was still in the fold. Like I still know all these guys. I basically told them, hey, like I'm a free agent. I'll do it for free because you guys are my friends. You know, just let me DP and gaff your stuff.
And then you get to be in the room and
exactly
practicing.
Exactly. Yeah. So that whole semester, while everybody else was making their films, I essentially just like crewed up on their stuff. So I was still using NIFA equipment. I was still coming to school, you know, because each director had to come to class once to present their thing and get a green light for their film. So I would come along with them and, you know, kind of discuss the floor plans and the shot lists and stuff like that. So I ended up coming to, like, my roommate's also from NIFA. So ironically, I mean, he still continued, he graduated. Ironically, I came to school more than he did, even though I was not in school anymore, because, you know, they were just working on their films at home on their own. But I was actually like coming and, you know, checking out equipment, and it was a good time. And it was essentially just a semester of just experimenting, being on all of these people's films, and a lot of them had like decent budgets, you know, like it was a lot. We had gear to work with.
It's fun. So you could really get your hands dirty with some artwork. You
Exactly.
don't have to cut corners all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously you're still not working with like plentiful of equipment that you can just do whatever you want. You obviously have constraints to work with, but I think it is fun to work with constraints, you know, because that teaches you how to be better. And I'm sure that's like sort of true with acting as well, right?
Sure.
Like
how
you're
do
working.
You find a way around the problem
Exactly.
when the solution isn't there?
Exactly. Like, you know, when you don't have the ability to throw money at the problem, like that's when you have to get creative and figure it out yourself. And I think that's a part of the process that I enjoy very dearly. Not always, but, you know, because sometimes it's like.
Sorry, quick question.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming from a household, like, it's very anxious. You have to have BFA, you have to have a degree, and blah, blah, blah. So you did not finish your degree program. Do you have like a full degree? Maybe you finished somewhere else, or no?
No, I didn't. So, of course, you're right. That the cultural thing of like having a degree is a huge like kind of achievement and like something that you like, need to do. And that's true in India as well. I know that's true mostly in like, you know, in Asia, like you kind of have to get it, you know, otherwise you're kind of seen as incomplete in some sense. And it took a little bit of time to convince my parents, because my parents were the ones who were funding. I was very lucky to have them fund my college and kind of fund me until I was like 20, 21. And it was a bit of a process to like convince them. My dad and my mom were both kind of like, oh, are you sure? Like this is, you know, you need to have a degree. Are you sure? But honestly, by that point, I had gotten to a point where I could get them to trust me. You know, like I'd kind of proven to them that like I know what I'm doing and like I am making the right move. So I'm glad that my parents like trusted me with my decision, because I was like, this is what I want to do and this is my solution. Because I told them like, hey, I'm still going to be working. This is my opportunity to build my portfolio. You know, like, this is a net positive for me. I had to basically like give them the pros and the cons and like kind of like, you know, let them analyze it themselves and like be like, hey, and kind of urge them towards what I want. And yeah, eventually they were like, okay, and also they were going to save money. They were going to save a lot of money by not paying for, you know, my film and my tuition.
But you still get to be in the room with collaborators and people you've already worked with. And,
exactly. And so, I mean, you know, whenever I bring this up to like random people, like strangers and stuff, they always are like, no, you should go back and get the degree. And you know, I've thought about it maybe at some point, but like right now, I don't really see the need for it that much, because again, the main thing you go to film school for is to meet great people, you know, and I've
exactly, collaborate in the
people.
future.
You guys, Nizami, like, you know, everyone, you know, Evgeny, Eugene, you know, you meet people. I mean, it's
experience.
It's a gateway into meeting people, essentially, you know, the actual learning process. While there's a lot that obviously I was taught here, but you know, majority of your learning process is you just going out there and like trying different things and experimenting,
absolutely,
you know, and failing often. And you learn the most from your failures, right? Like it's a well said thing. People always say that, but you know, it is true. You know, I'm gonna echo it again. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of it, and I continued on. Technically speaking, I can come back and finish the 2 semesters that I have left, but that would mean like I would have to make my own film and stuff, which, you know, working in freelance, you know, you're not. I'm just starting off freelance. I've been doing this for less than a year. Like, you know, you don't have the privilege of like throwing a bunch of money at something. You know, you're still, and of course, living in New York City. I mean, you guys know it's
no small feat.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it takes a lot out of your pocket.
Yeah, $5 per day to travel on subway. If you go in one direction.
Exactly.
Same
I'm
direction
like,
back.
yeah, $1,500, $2,000 for rent. I mean, you know, it's a lot. It's a huge commitment to just like live here, you know. But it's worth it for the opportunities that you get, you know, because I mean, where? Oh
no, for sure. Like, I can complain the whole day how New York expensive and how New York is, I don't know, dirty. We're still here, and I chose New York for a reason, right?
Exactly. Why did you guys choose New York? Like, you know, are any of you like from New York or no?
I'm
right?
not from New York.
Neither
From
of you.
Colorado.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned. Yeah. So what was your like thought process into like choosing between LA and New York? Because like as actors, like obviously, I mean, as filmmakers and actors, both of us, you know,
Yeah.
like in the film industry, obviously LA is like king.
LA,
right?
yeah.
So what made you choose New York?
A big part of me was a car. I didn't want the car. And I also think that
Very practical.
when I moved to New York, that was end of 2022, beginning of 2023. And that year before prior, I had toured the NIFA campus here.
Okay.
And like spent a little bit of time in New York and talking to some people. And they were like, New York like got really quiet during COVID. A lot of people left, and then a lot of people were starting to come back. And I kind of wanted to see like this revival of artistic culture in New York and what that's going to be.
Yeah.
And LA, I don't know what else about LA. I just wasn't drawn to it. And I chose NIFA for a similar reason. I liked the hands-on approach that they have with all of their stuff. It's not.
And that's quick program as well.
Yes, and not sitting. Yes, because I took a gap year and a half after high school, and I wanted a big thing is a degree for me for this. As much as I'm loving the program, I also wanted to get in and out with a degree as quickly as possible.
Naturally.
And from my understanding of the NIFA campuses in the United States, this one has some offerings that the other two don't.
Got you.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I mean, the LA campus did have some very enticing things because they kind of advertised that you can shoot in the Hollywood like backlots and stuff. But I think after COVID, that was kind of like not really a thing anyway. Like I don't think they allowed it. But yeah, I totally get the car thing. I mean, it's so annoying to have to drive everywhere.
You have
right?
to have a whole asset all
yeah,
the time.
Yeah, and it's like if you're young, you're paying an insane amount on insurance, like 500
Oh, yeah,
bucks
I
a month
know.
on insurance, plus your car payment's probably like 400, 500.
Paying for my phone bill, it's already kind of
Right,
too
exactly,
much.
exactly. Can you imagine having to like also keep a car? Of course, the space thing is kind of a thing. It's like that's one thing I kind of miss because where I lived in India, there's a lot of space and it's like that's what I was used to.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's the same for you guys.
If I were in Ukraine, I would definitely have a car, I guess, by this time. And or even if anywhere but New York, you need a car in America because that's what you're used to.
It's a completely car-based society. I mean, walking is not an option in
Exactly.
places. Yeah.
And like in Europe, like in Ukraine, for example, you would use a car, but at the same time, we walk all the time, everywhere. We also have subway system. Public transportation is huge.
It's only
maybe Ukrainian people a bit complaining about public transportations because there's always room to grow, right?
Of course.
At the same time, compared to what they have, maybe New York is okay with this, but like compared to other big cities in the U.S., it's like it's a crazy difference.
No, like we have one train in Colorado that goes from like the airport to the city to the mountains. Yeah, and that's about it.
I chose New York because. Well, when I was in Ukraine, again, I was there sometime, and my parents really wanted me to go to the U.S. and study to the U.S. because it felt like any education that you would get in the U.S. would be better than in Ukraine. By the way, coming here and then experiencing it here, I know that our education actually is fucking great as well. It's just unfortunately the way. It would not be credible here, as much credible as any of the US.
Same with India. If you have a degree from there and you come here, try to find work. I mean, I have a bunch of friends who have tried that, and it's difficult. I mean, already there's few jobs already, and then on top of that, you're at a major disadvantage for sure if you have a degree from like outside. Even if you have an American degree, you're gonna have a hard time. So it's like.
Absolutely. And like when we moved to the US, it was very quick and very sudden decision because again, because of degree, my parents, my mom really wanted me to start education right now, right here, because don't lose it because we don't have gap year in our country. Like we don't, it's not in our culture.
Yeah.
So like I had half a gap year, like because I started in January 2023, and it was already kind of like my parents were. Oh my God, you're already missing time, you're already like behind. And then we found this amazing program that is fast and it's in New York, which was insane. Like I never thought I would actually end up living alone in New York at that age. Like it's insane, it's just starting to land for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like each time I cross, the Manhattan Bridge or the Brooklyn Bridge, and it's like you can see the entire city in one go. It's like
New York,
and it never gets old.
Oh, I have goosebumps. Crazy.
It never gets old. That feeling. I mean, even if you're coming back from Jersey, that side. I mean, each view that you see.
Yes.
If you're in the north, coming from like Harlem Drive, and you can see, oh my God, each time I'm just like, damn, like, you realize that I live here. Like, I am a part of this big metropolis.
Absolutely.
I'm a part of this machine, and it's like, it's a privilege as well. It's a huge privilege, I think, to have the ability to live in a city like this. Of course, there's poverty. Of course, there's difficulties, for sure. But it's like, that's kind of the price you pay for having the experience here. And it's
living in New York.
Yeah, I agree. That's very
fantastic.
well phrased. I like that. I agree because. Again, we can complain and I can complain about so many things, but by the end of the day, I'm so grateful I'm here and I can do this with you guys and like, whoa,
Right? Yeah, and we're not sitting in like a cubicle and some like, and spending your whole day. I'm sure, there's advantages to that as well. You get healthcare and stuff.
Yeah.
That's which is great, insurance and all of
dentistry,
that. Right, yeah. But we'll take it, I think, yeah.
So I want to ask about your discovery of how you became director of photography. So when you started NIFA, before you started NIFA, have you always known that you wanted to be a filmmaker? Did you have urges towards directing, writing?
So back in the 9th grade, start of high school basically, my best friend and I, we were making these like silly little YouTube videos, because that was the time where these comedy sketches were really popular on YouTube, like there was College Humor, there was Smosh, there was Niga Higa, they were all making these like, funny little like 5-10 minute sketches of like something random and kind of, a lot of them were like stupid. Of course, a lot of the humor doesn't really get through now, but back then it was that kind of the thing. And so me and my best friend, we decided we can make it, so we were filming on like my phone. I had like a Motorola something phone.
I feel like a lot of people have such a story when they were filming something as
you start at the very bottom.
Yeah,
but I bought like I bought these like little small lights from Amazon and like a green screen and everything, and we would make like stupid videos about like we created like this fake company that like sells drugs, and like, we were like we were basically advertising
20 minutes in,
and I was like interviewing the CEO of this company, like stupid things like that. They were all shot on the phone, no lighting, nothing. It was just silly, and like it was the humor that we were used to at that time, And so I did a lot of that, and through that I got into editing. So I pirated Final Cut 10 because no one's paying $300 for it. So I pirated the thing. I'm admitting to a lot of crimes here. But yeah, so I pirated Final Cut and like I was editing those videos, and I really got into editing. I was like, this is such a like fun art, It's like you essentially are rewriting the entire film when you're editing. So I really enjoyed the process of like cutting and putting things together, and so my school teachers got to know about these videos that I was making, and they were not really very PG, but they got to know about it, and so then there was this. My school had a science fair, which was basically people make these little science thingies and experiments and whatever. But my computer science teacher comes up to me and she's like, do you want to make a film? Do you want to make a film for this event? Like not to shoot the event, but make a short film, and we will like screen it in like this room and everything, And I'm obviously very grateful for and that's very uncommon for like teachers in India, to be honest. Like I was very lucky to go to a school where like teachers were quite liberal in their thinking,
and finding what their students were interested in rather than like forcing them.
Exactly, because the course that I was doing was like, it's called PCMC, which is physics, chemistry, maths, computers. Like I was fully in like STEM in high school.
I knew something when I said science. I knew something when I said science. Continue.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So she comes up to me and she's like, you can pick your crew, pick anybody you want. You have the entire school at your disposal. Just make a film.
Whoa.
And we had this like little DSLR Canon 5D something. I don't remember. And a little tripod, and that's it. No lighting, nothing. Just go around, make a little film. So we made this like silly little film about this guy who buys a chip online and puts it in his head, and that makes him forget his bad memories and like seeing like the consequences of not remembering the things, like because he was like depressed. It's a stupid idea. I was in like 11th grade, but it was like a thing, and we shot it, and it was put together. I wouldn't say it's like a great film or anything like that, but it was cohesive. Cool. Which was good enough at the time. We screened it, and the reception was pretty good. A lot of people came in. Like we were basically doing shows, like 30-minute intervals, a lot of shows. People would come in and watch and then go out. It was like a 15, 16-minute film. So yeah, so then I got into like short films, and then I went to a couple of like short film competitions in my city. My city is Bangalore, which is not a very artsy city. It's a very like tech-based city.
Yeah.
Like everybody there is doing IT. My parents as well. They're both in like the IT field.
Interesting.
They work with like computers and stuff. But yeah, so I went to a lot of these inter-school competitions, and the bar was pretty low. I'm not gonna lie. It was not like the competition was like crazy. I mean, I'm sure if I was in a city like Delhi or Mumbai, the competition would be a lot more. But in my city, even though it's a large city, it's bigger than New York.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's India. Everything's bigger. A lot of people. But yeah, so through that, I was like, okay, I kind of want to direct and edit. So I directed that film as well as edited it. And kind of did camera. There were not like clear roles back then. It was like, we were just doing whatever was convenient.
Sure.
Made a little cameo as well. But yeah, so through that, I was like, okay, I kind of enjoy this process a lot. Like I truly, at that point, I was also like in school, like I said, I was doing science, but that was not really like cutting it for me. I was fascinated by science, but I don't think I was at a point where I was like, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm still fascinated by science, fascinated by physics, chemistry, and I used a lot of the things that I learned in high school even today. Like with cameras and stuff. There is a lot of like science and physics behind it, right? So understanding that gives you a better idea to like makes you a better filmmaker in general. So I'm grateful for that period of time, even though I was like kind of like not in the best headspace, in terms of like how studies were going. It was like grades and stuff were not really
but you found a little outlet.
Exactly. Yeah, I was
express.
lucky enough to find that niche, and I was eventually able to convince my parents to like allow me to go to film school, and so that worked out. And then I got into NIFA. Initially, actually, I was supposed to go to NIFA LA, but the online timings were really bad for LA because it would start at like 12 a.m. and end at like 8 a.m. like in Indian Standard Time. So I was like, there's no way I can consistently do that for like a year.
No.
Yeah.
So then it was like a super last minute decision. They sent an email saying like, can you please choose which one you want to go to? And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to
Money's
New York,
in.
Yeah. And I just go for it, send the deposit, and boom, like now you're in NIFA. While I was in NIFA,
Well, it's not that easy. All right.
Well, yeah.
There's some auditions. There are some.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was also super lucky that I was born in America, so like there was no like visa situation happening.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a huge part of it. I have a lot of my friends.
But what about portfolio, for example? Like they require some portfolio.
I mean, the bar to get into NIFA is not super high.
Okay, let's re-say it again.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah, that's controversial. Oh my god, I'm sorry guys, I'm way too controversial.
So good. You're so good.
I'm too honest.
I'm completely joking, but also I'm not really joking about that specific phrase.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, it has 100% acceptance rate.
Yeah.
That is that.
Yeah.
So it has a 60% graduation rate. So Okay.
Balances
Anyway,
out.
I will reset. So.
Oh, we can cut it and put it on Patreon and ask people if you want to see that part of being
the
honest.
controversial part?
Pay $2.
Okay.
So wait,
Okay. Yeah.
they require portfolio, right, to get in?
Yeah. So luckily by that point I had that short film, and I also just put
Yeah.
my YouTube videos in as well, just cause
Sure.
I was like, it was stupid and silly and kind of controversial, but I was like, whatever. I threw in everything that I could, and then eventually, they were like, okay, cool. I applied to a bunch of other places as well. Got waitlisted in most, but it didn't really quite work out. But NIFA luckily worked out, and that was kind of my first choice anyway, because I was like, okay, it's super hands-on. It's a 3-year degree, which was a big part of it, rather than a 4-year degree, because I feel like it's a much bigger, like that 1 year makes a lot of difference. It's a huge time commitment. So yeah, I mean, the stars aligned in that sense, and luckily, I was pushed to New York. And
so when you're taking the filmmaking, it gives you an overview of like all different parts of what it's like to be behind the camera.
Yeah. So I would say the main focus is directing still when you're doing the program, but I think a lot of it is also like finding your niche. Because some people realize that, I want to be a production designer. Some people realize I want to be a producer.
Can I ask, what was the like moment that you were like, I'm in love with lighting. I'm in love with seeing something framed? Like, do you have a specific moment, or did it just kind of grow into a passion for you?
So when I got in, I knew nothing about lighting, right? I was completely clueless because I never had the opportunity to like really like mess with it. There was one project that I was on. It was an intermediate film. It was like a short intermediate film. My roommate's intermediate film actually, and he had hired this DP. His name was Shivastavan, and we just call him Sri. So he was also from NIFA and he had a lot of experience, and so I had the opportunity to AC for him. I was not gaffing for him, but I was ACing for him. And
assistant camera.
Yeah. Which also I knew not a lot about, but it was like, it was still doable. You know, it's like just building a camera. It's still, you know, we had some practice with that, whatever. But on that set is when I saw the things that he was doing with lighting, and I saw like the way that he built the scene was so intentional. You know, it was like he knew what he wanted, and he like went there and executed it. And like, you know, I had the privilege of basically shadowing him for that entire set, right?
Yeah.
Like, because again, it was a small set. I was still helping out with lighting a little bit, you know, even though I didn't know what the purpose of any of it was. I was like asking him questions, like, and he was kind enough to kind of like, you know, explain it to me and kind of like be like, tell me what his intentions with each placement of the light is. And I was like, this is a really cool process, you know?
And I assume, especially for someone who knows physics or like who has been in touch with science, it's easier to get how like
for sure,
works.
It comes down to understanding like ratios, right? Like between the light and the dark, like, you know, what, because essentially a good image is basically one that has like contrast between, like, it has parts of it which are bright and parts of it which are dark. It creates like there's a separation of contrast, you know? So that's kind of the ethos of creating like a good image. And I'm obviously generalizing it. It depends on the style that you're going for. Obviously, you can be more shadowy if you're going for like a horror, mystery, dark thing. And then you can be more bright if it's like a beauty commercial or like something like a sitcom, right? So obviously there's a range. But yeah, I mean, you know, I watched the process and I was like, okay, this is cool. But unfortunately, our program did not have a lot to do with lighting. We did learn camera pretty well, but we did not get, because it was a BFA program, it was a filmmaking program, so it was kind of general, right? Like in the cinematography program, they like really dive into it. But we had some cinematography classes, and we had some amazing professors who unfortunately I think did not get the time to really like show us everything that they can, you know, because the classes were few, you know, it was once a week, 3 hours, and like 12 people in class. There's only so much that you can learn as an individual when you're working like that, right? We had some amazing professors still. Hernan, I still talk to him every now and then, you know, whenever I see him on the in the corridors, I always make sure that I have a conversation with him because I felt like we didn't get all of them, you know, we didn't get everything that they have to offer. So I'm like trying to extract that even now. But yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I basically, so after this experience, I had the opportunity to DP something for a friend of mine. It was the intermediate film. It was like in our 3rd or 4th semester. And it was her first time directing as well. And it was my first time DPing. And she had like a pretty long story. It was like a 20-page story that we had to do in like 4 days. And actually Nizami was the gaffer on that. So we did that.
How did he do?
I didn't do very well. Let's just say that. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like the DP has to be the one who like leads, right? Who leads to like, who creates the plan for like, okay, how are we going to approach this scene? How are we going to make it simple for us? You know, we have so little time and so many characters and so many shots to do. I did not do a very good job there, you know? Like, I was okay with like placing the camera and kind of like figuring out how we want to cover it, but it was a lot of characters and it was in like a kind of white-walled, slightly boring-looking apartment on a very high-rise building. So I couldn't light from outside. There were a lot of restrictions that I was working with on that film, and like frankly, it comes down to like me just not knowing how to light at that point. I knew where to place my camera, but I didn't know where to place my lights yet. We did our best. I think it looked acceptable. It didn't look like. But it was not like what I had in mind, you know?
Sure.
And that's so all the time. For actors, the same way. Like every time we have to do a scene or like a monologue and we have something in mind and then we go and it's completely
something else.
Yeah. Like it's just sometimes annoying.
It's painful.
Right, yeah.
It's like you feel like you failed at something that you wanted to do, you know? But of course you can't sulk and just, you know.
You have to learn from it.
You have to learn from it, exactly. So you take the punch, you roll with the punches and you like continue on, right? And so, yeah, I mean, so I had that kind of failure in some sense. And even besides that, it was kind of a messy production, you know, with like an actor dropping out and we had to like recast one of our sound guy had to like put on like old person, like Ahmad had to put on like old person. There was a lot of like, you know, pieces of the puzzle that were not moving very well, even outside my control. But anyway, I was like, okay, this did not work out, but I need to learn now. So then I basically spent the next like 4 months just on YouTube, just learning. And honestly, there are such fantastic resources on YouTube, you know, just amazing people who are like just so freely sharing their knowledge. You know, they're like, it's amazing that they're not gatekeeping it, you know, they're like, they want other people to, it's amazing. Like I love it. And a lot of them, just a lot of videos, you know, just learn lighting, learn camera, just you can, I mean, obviously it's not the same as like doing it in person, but you know, you kind of get the idea of like, okay, how are other great people doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you kind of mimic it.
Obviously,
when you start, you just mimic it. Yeah.
Mimic actors.
Exactly. Yeah, right. I'm sure you guys do that as well. You pick an actor, you see their style, and like kind of like try to almost like put yourself in their shoes, and you know.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Look where we are.
In the shoes, yeah, and like try to do that. Is there any actor in particular that you guys have an interesting experience with trying to mimic? Like.
Well, I hate gatekeeping. I rarely gatekeep stuff, but I feel like if I'm gonna say that this is the person that I'm mimicking.
Give away your trade secrets.
Yeah, well, not even secrets, but like, I think it's not always one person. Like it is sometimes a mixture, and sometimes it's not even an actor. Sometimes it's like channeling a person, and I'm just like, and I guess it's part of it. But definitely, if I would give you some examples, it would definitely be Judy Comer, because I talk about her constantly, or Emma Stone, I guess, and just any other white female that looks like kind of like my type.
Yeah.
I have a hard time doing that. I get like when I'm actively trying to like think of how would this person do it, it doesn't come, it makes me feel very stuck.
Right.
But what I like doing is like watching interviews. There was a round table that I was watching recently, and like seeing how an actor approaches a scene more than anything else, and trying that out. Which I think is still a lot of like what we do in learning classes anyway. Like there's different styles, and you approach a scene from that way, and it works or it doesn't, and you move forward with that information.
Yeah, so very similar thing for us as well. You know, it's like you're mimicking. When you start off, especially, it's like it's gonna be a lot of like mimicry. Obviously, you want to bring in your own originality to some extent, but it takes a little bit of time to get there.
In order to let that originality
I would like to actually rephrase something or elaborate, because I know I'm going to be very self-conscious after it if I'm not. It's not about like mimicking someone. I think I would rather use the word channeling, and I'm not doing like all the time. I think in some specific roles, it's not gonna work anyway.
Right.
And I said white girls, but sometimes I channel like men, and sometimes I channel
cartoon
like
characters.
Animals, and sometimes exactly. Oh my God, cartoon characters are the best. I love. I think I view people as cartoon characters, and it's just so great. But like my point is I'm not doing it constantly.
No, but it's a fun way. What's his face? Bradley Cooper in the Hangover series said that he was trying to act like Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
And for that whole character, that whole time. And
that's
what comes across
awesome.
the way that he does.
But that's part of like exploring styles. You see, and like. Sorry, even though we're coming from a different like part of the industry, we're still using the same kind of techniques.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, obviously the king of cinematography is Roger Deakins, and he is also one of those people who's kind enough to just freely share their knowledge. He's on a bunch of podcasts, and he just like he just gives it all out. Like I'm like, dude, you're really like telling all the secrets, and it's like
that's the thing. Who wants to hear it, they will hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And I watched a bunch of Deakins' stuff, Hoytema, like, you know, just analyze how they approach a scene. And there's a great website called Shot Tech, which is essentially just a big wall of stills from a bunch of different movies, and you can kind of like search up. And I mean, I guess they use like AI or some kind of search engine to like, you know, you search up like a very specific scene, kitchen, night, 2 characters, something like that, and then they will give you exactly that, or like kitchen, night, tungsten, and then they will give you a bunch of stuff.
When you approach a shot, what are like the first things that you immediately go for every time, or does it kind of vary on like what the energy or genre that you're working with?
So yeah, it depends on, I would say 2 to 3 factors. One being genre for sure, you know, like if is it a comedy? If it's a comedy, then you're gonna light it more bright. If is it horror, you can have the ability to like put things more in shadow and not have to like have the faces completely lit. That's one thing. And the second thing that you will focus on is the space. You want to kind of imagine the 3-dimensionality of that space and like how light will look. You have to imagine like how light will look coming through this window, or how a light would look. Let's say so. Okay, that's one thing. And the second thing is it day or night or evening? Right, time of day plays a huge role. Ideally you want to mimic the real world as much as you can. Now, again, caveat, that depends on what you're doing. But a majority of things that I do, like my style is often like trying to mimic how natural light looks, and rather than like creating an entire look on my own, I'm kind of accenting what the room already calls for, right? So let's say we have a big living room with like, you know, a few windows, you know. You want to take a look at, okay, how many windows are there? How many lights do I need for each window? Do I want the light coming in to be hard? Do I want it to be like direct, like sunlight? Or do I want it to pass through a diffusion and look more like a cloudy day, you know, like an overcast day, and kind of have like a soft light coming in? You have a lot of choices to make, you know, and you discuss with the director as well, like, hey, how do you want this to feel? Do you want this to feel light and airy? Like, if it's something like a conclusion scene where like two characters who were beefing have come together finally and have like made peace, then you want the scene to look a little bit more airy. You would use like some more hard light. You would make it look brighter, right? And as opposed to if you have like okay, there's a scene where there's a person who's cooking and then there's an intruder somewhere. You can make that look a little bit more dark so that the intruder, so that you can play a little bit more with the intruder kind of coming in and out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're almost seeing him or her, but not. You know, you're playing with like how you light definitely like determines how you shoot it as well. You know, it gives you the different ways you light opens up different opportunities to like shots, right? So those are kind of the things that I think about.
Is there any like specific genre that you like to work on specifically?
I enjoy working on, you know, both sides of the spectrum, you know, both the dark and the light, like both the dark and the bright sides.
Yeah.
Often dark, especially in the digital age, like dark is something that has become a trend now, you know, like people like,
definitely. Joker and stuff like that.
Joker, I mean, Batman was like shot at, you know, like 2 stops under, you know, it was like genuinely really dark, you know. But it works out. It's a creative choice, right?
Yeah,
you want to make
sure.
it dark, you make it dark. And again, with digital, you can get away with dark a lot more than you could with film.
Never thought about that.
Yeah.
Like what were the possibilities before with what the camera can give?
Absolutely.
Never thought about
Technology
that.
plays a huge role in how, you know, art transforms,
Sure.
right? Now, with the Alexa 35, it has almost the same, like that's the new like Alexa that has come
Is
out.
it film?
It's not film, it's digital. It's like the greatest digital camera currently in existence, essentially. And it has all the advantages of like digital, but also it has a dynamic range of film. It has a higher dynamic range than film. So generally, the best part about film was that it has great dynamic range, which basically means that it'll capture, if there's something really bright in your frame, it'll capture that. If there's something really dark in your frame, it'll also capture detail in that. Worse cameras that don't have great dynamic range, if you expose for a dark part, right? Let's say you want the dark part to be seen, and your bright part gets like super bright, right? It's like blown up.
Yeah.
And then if you want to try to expose for your bright part, then
Vice
you'll see that
versa.
your darks get really dark. So that was a problem that digital had for a long time, you know, which is that dynamic range. I mean, it got better over the years, but that range was just not there. So it's like if you're shooting, a good example would be if you're shooting outdoors on a sunny day, right? Let's say it's like 1 o'clock, it's kind of high rise sun, it's very bright outside, but you're in the shade of, let's say, a building, right? So you're shooting 2 characters who are in the shade of this building. So the 2 characters are a lot darker than what's at the back, right? So if you have a weak dynamic range, if you have kind of a, I don't want to say crappier, but like an older digital camera, what will happen is that if you want to have their faces correctly lit, then what's that bright sun at the back that's hitting the buildings at the back will get really bright.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Like you've lost the data, you know, or almost, it's called clipping. You've almost lost all the data that's back there. But with the camera, but with film, the great part was that you could get away with shooting like that because it would make sure if you expose for the person who's in the shadow correctly, you would still have a lot of detail to work with at the back and the bright, you know. And now, finally, last year we got to the Alexa 35, which can finally like mimic that, you know, which is kind of an underrated thing that people really don't talk about. Like that's a huge feat in like technology and cinematography technology.
Wow, that's cool to know.
You know, it's amazing that we've finally like got to that point. And now, I mean, film will still never die. Film still has a feel and a look and a sense of authenticity that digital is trying to mimic and getting really close, but it's never truly, you're never truly going to make digital look like film, you know, and that's just like the reality. Like there's a lot of emulations and, you know, obviously nowadays you can do a lot in post-production. So nowadays colorists, so there's kind of a battle almost between like colorists and cinematographers, because cinematographers will shoot it a certain way with a certain idea in mind, and then the colorist does something kind of the opposite or something that you were not, you know, anticipating.
Do you ever work together or discuss?
Ideally you would work together and discuss, but that doesn't always happen, unfortunately. So then it's like you're left with, okay, the colorist has done this, they've added a, you know, you were going for a certain look and now they've added like a bunch of grain and a bunch of like, I mean, which they're trying to make it look like film, sure, but it's like, did I really want that? You know, did I want it to look like that? So, you know, there's a bit of that, but with the Alexa 35, like they have tried to get control back, which is like, so they have like these presets that you can kind of have on your camera, which are baked into the footage. So normally you shoot as like raw as possible and then do as much as you can in post, but now we're kind of going back, and RE, the company, RE, you know, they're allowing you to like bake in looks that the colorist can't change later. So it's like you can now have like a little bit more control. Still, the colorist will still have a lot of control.
Oh my god!
But it's like now you can like add things to your image that like they can't mess
touch
with later. Yeah. So there's a little bit of that. There's a lot of, you know, that's part of the politics. But
and then it is insane that actors consider like the face of the movie when there's so many things going on behind the scenes.
And like directing the audience's
perception and
subconsciously without them even really knowing what they're seeing.
Wow. I'm definitely doing what I want to do, because
it's a huge. I see it as like a dance. You know, everybody's doing their own little part,
beautiful.
and it's like every person has. I think every person on set is of vital
important.
importance.
Oh,
funny
definitely.
too, because when you start to learn,
that.
like there's teachers that'll be like, and half the movie is this person's job as well. When it's that phrase comes up a lot, but there's every single part to play. Like you couldn't do it without every single person on set. So I like thinking of it like a dance.
Yeah.
Because like the push and pull and where the eye goes, it's funny. When I'm on set and I'm looking at people light a shot, I'm so, like the conversations are like so usually quiet and in a corner, and I'm not privy to a lot of that work going on.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think takes some of the most time from what I see.
100%, yeah. Yeah, I mean, for each shot, you're going to dedicate like 20-30 minutes to lighting, or you will pre-light the previous day and have the play. That's something that takes a lot of time, you know?
How do you light for like extreme close-ups? And like when somebody has like facial features that are like really strong, and the way that shadows play, like how do you get that close?
So it'll depend on, again, the genre, you know?
Sure.
Yeah,
of
it'll
course.
depend, you know, if it's something more gritty, you would go for like a harder light. It essentially just comes down to hard and soft light. Right? And if you want to get super close, you just go on a super long lens and make sure the actor doesn't move. That part is simple enough.
Yeah.
You know, you get like a 200 mil lens. I mean, it depends on how close you're getting. You get like a super tight lens, and then you just have something that's, you know, either soft or hard depending on what you want. But yeah, the quality of the light is basically 90% of the thing. You know,
Dude,
is it hard or soft?
and the reason I'm asking so many questions is because I truly know I know almost nothing. But like, how many lights do you have to choose from? Like I see the lights in this room right now. And
yeah, I mean, this is very definitely very minimal.
Sure.
Like it's kind of like the best that you can do with as little as available. In terms of choosing, that's a tough one, because that again will depend on the location a lot, right? Like where do I have
depends
this?
on the vibes.
Yeah, totally. Like, and that's the thing.
Sure.
Like, there's no, and that's the thing about art in general. Is like there's
no right answer. I know.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about editing, I think it's funny because like from our side. From acting, yes, there's a million ways that you can do something, but like that feels very freeing to me.
Yeah.
We've had to do some editing, and the freeness in editing, where it's like, okay, do I cut here like even 1 second before or 1 second after?
Yeah, or a frame.
Do I want to see this person's reaction, or do I want to see the person who's speaking at that moment? All of it, there's almost too much freedom. Like I have a hard time approaching editing because of that.
It's really hard. I mean, I haven't edited properly in like a little while, but I edited my my roommate's short film and stuff. But I totally get. I think the thing to do is to kind of decompress and kind of like go away from the edit and then come back and try your best to watch it as an audience. I think that's kind of the way that I try to see it. Is like, I mean, I'll get, I'll indulge in some substances and then I'll come back and then I'll be like, kind of forget the edits that I've done, forget that this is something that I have made, and just watch it like I'm like third person, you know. But yeah, totally. Like there's so much freedom, and it's like, what is correct? Because there is no right answer. You know, like it's subjective for the most part. But I think for the most part, you also want to make the edit, at least in narrative, you want the edit to look as like invisible as possible, you know, in terms of like, you don't want to notice that there was a cut there. You know, you want to kind of hide it away from the audience's conscious mind, you know, but that's for narrative. Obviously, for music video, it's a totally different ball game.
Sorry.
He started the table.
Interesting how I've never thought, because usually, you know, even in acting program, we usually talk how director works with an actor, or like sometimes costume designer, or sound, like that we have to be. It's never a conversation about actor and director of photography.
Right. Yeah.
They almost never connect interact.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me, because we're telling the story and you're enhancing parts of my features, for example, or I'm like working with the environment that you're creating.
Both sides are working on a visual aspect of it.
Yeah,
It's not something that's
but we're
going
never, like,
story-wise.
people on
Actually
set
crossing.
usually never connect. On sets that I worked, I mean, yeah, for sure, I know people and like we can
you say
interact,
hello
yeah,
and be
for sure.
polite.
Yeah.
But like artistically wise, of
There's
course, there
no
is a
overlap.
hierarchy on set, and that's just crazy how we almost never.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be more interaction. There should be more room.
I think sometimes some DPs will take some control over like blocking, you know, in terms of like, you know, asking the actor to move a little bit this and a little bit. But mostly it's just like, okay, you're a figure, and we are like trying to tell you where to go, how, and like that's kind of and a lot of the times the director will take care of that. We don't often like will directly speak. I mean, the gaffer will never speak to an actor directly, right? Like that's kind of like not the best idea. You want to tell the DP, and then the DP tells the director, or depending on the vibe
command,
exactly. Yeah, you have to like ensure the chain of command is followed. But I mean, I still think there's some overlap, you know, in terms of like placing you in the right way and blocking you the right way so that the light hits in the correct angle. You know, like, you know, making sure your face is not looking in like, you know, away from the
I
camera.
always wish I had
Stuff
more
like that.
conversation with the people behind the camera about that. Like, it's like I am still learning my face and my angles and like what works better for the camera. And I would love if I had more talks of like, hey,
like
that
workshop,
looks
or like
good.
even
I think I love working with actors.
Workshops
I love working with actors who like have some idea of like focal lengths of cameras and like how it's looking in the frame without looking at it directly. You know, like when an actor can kind of see the distance between them and the camera, and then like be aware of what lens they're on. It's always easy to just take a look, or you just overhear the director say, okay, let's get a 35 on or something, you know, like you can overhear and kind of like know what lens you're on, right?
Assess
and then,
how much of your body is being
exactly,
seen
and then you kind of have an idea of like, okay, where is my frame like starting and ending, and like, okay, how much headroom am I in right now? Like, obviously, it's not your job entirely to like, of course, it's somebody else's job to direct
take that
you to
into
do
account,
that.
though.
Yeah, but if you just like do it on your own, it's like so nice. Like when an actor like just instinctually finds their light, and like let's say you have an eye light, right, and then they like and they look up to like enhance that little eye light. That's like the little spot in your eye that, you know, twinkle in the eye. Like when they catch it just instinctually, it's like, oh my god, like hell yeah. Like, I'm so like I often like I'll go up to the actor and I'll be like, dude, you caught the light so well, thank you for that. You know, because there are moments where, especially in like small spaces, where it's like a little movement is going to make a huge difference in like how the shot ends up looking. You know, and yeah, when they do it correctly, you know, when their eye line is correct and when their head position is correct, it's like so satisfying when they get it right. Of course, we will do our best to like guide them.
Sure.
But if you get it on your own, like because of the knowledge that you have, it's so sick.
That's fucking awesome.
It's so great.
Then one of the last questions that I'm gonna ask today, because well, I know there are a lot of people who are gonna be alumni or almost alumni from NIFA, and I have. Question: would you maybe give some advice on how to find work and how to like what's included in finding work, like collaboration, networking, like websites and stuff like that?
I mean, the first thing obviously would be to like do your website, get your portfolio started, which I still haven't entirely done myself. I'm not gonna lie. That's like a big part of it because that just allows
you still
people
have 2
to
semesters. You're fine.
because that allows people to like figure out what your deal is and like kind of assess where you stand. But you know, besides that, I think it would just if you're on set, if you get the opportunity to be on set, talk to as many people as you can and be genuine. Don't try to talk to people just because you want to get something out of them, just because you know that they have connections and you're like trying to fish something out, because people will notice.
Sense it.
People will sense it when you're like trying to network, you know? So I think the best thing is to just be genuine, be nice, and obviously like do your job well. That's a big part, obviously. That's given. You know, you want to do your job well. You don't want to, you don't want to be a sleaze bag and like at hour 7 just be like, oh, I'm done, I'm tired. Like none of that. You know, you have to be
sense
proactive.
of professionalism.
Yeah, you have to. Proactivity is a huge part of it. You know, when you do something nice for another crew member without being prompted to do it, like it adds so many points to like your aura. You know, whatever. like if the DP is like, if the camera is low and the DP is kind of like hunched over, you know, you notice that and just have the thing of like, oh, I can get him an apple box to sit on. You go and quickly get him an apple box to sit on. That is huge. You know, they're like, oh shit, they did that for me. Or when you like,
well, it helps the whole machine kind of work together.
Faster. Exactly. So when you do little things like that, people notice. You know, and I would say, yeah, just be nice to people. You know, just be a pleasant, because this is an industry where you're spending 12, 13, 14 hours for days on end with these people. You know, you do not want to be spending that time with people that you dislike. So be likable, but don't try hard. You know, be authentic, be likable, and just be honest, and people will usually like buy that, and they will want to hire you again. I mean, so far I've been lucky enough to mostly just work out of just phone calls or text messages like, hey, I'm doing this is the rate, do you want to do that? I've not yet like really like applied for stuff, which I do intend on doing, because you know that well runs dry of like waiting for people to give you a call, because at some point, you know, there's going to be a dry month when nobody calls you, and then you're like, oh shit, I have rent,
what do I got?
I have rent to pay.
And you've worked freelance, you said. So does that eventually entails having a website set up? And
for sure. I mean, that's ideally what I should have already have. Well, but luckily, like,
goes on.
Luckily, just doing work on set and people noticing has been enough for the time being, you know. But of course, if you want to make that jump to like bigger sets with like more resources, you have to climb that ladder, which I'm still in the process of climbing. You know, it is you have to be patient. You have to know that you're not going to get on some feature as like gaffer or like key grip 3 months in. You know, no matter how good you think you are, like experience does matter. So just, you know, I would say take some of those free gigs, like do it, you know, especially starting out, like just do the free gigs, just get that experience.
You get to be in the room.
Just be in the environment, learn how to be in the environment, learn how to conduct yourself in that environment, you know, and after that, a lot of it will just kind of fall in its place on its own, you know. You don't just don't try it too hard, you know. You know, take up whatever you can get. In terms of advice, I mean, that's all I would say. Obviously, build up your portfolio as much as you can, work as much as you can, because the more you have under your belt, the more likely people are going to be willing to hire you. You know, I mean, it's really as simple as that. It applies for all of us, right? The more you have acted, the better the chance you have for getting hired. The more range you have on your reel, you know, on the reel that you put on backstage and stuff. You know, that determines a lot. So yeah, I mean, you know, after getting out, just find people and work the most that you can. Obviously, like I say this with the caveat of like, I was lucky enough to not have to do a second job, and like, you know, because I had the backing of like my parents, so I had like some kind of, so I know that my circumstance is different, and like it was easier for me to like not have to make money the first 4 months and then finally start to like have enough to like sustain myself, because there is going to be that period of the first 4 months to a year or more where like you're still struggling to like get paid, you know, because money is a big thing. You know, you're doing it, I mean, of course you love the art, but you're doing it for money as well. You got to sustain yourself.
Have to.
So I was lucky enough to do that. Of course, if you have to have a second job, like that makes the whole process a whole lot harder.
So you're just exhausted, you know, the whole time.
Exactly. Like, you know, like I think that telling yourself that, oh, I will work 3-4 days a week and then the remaining bit I will do film, unfortunately that just does not work. Like, because timings are always so weird.
I tried to do it for 3 weeks, where I worked for 4 days and then did my school and did everything else. Burnt out after 3 weeks.
You need to have the energy to put that performance out, right? You need to, you know, have that, that
the juice.
Oh
the juice, exactly.
Why did we choose this industry? Why is it so unstable? Why?
It's hard. It's honestly like it's tough, and and like find your niche, I would say, is also a big thing. You know, like don't go in as a generalist. Like I don't think jack of all trades really works with this industry. Like it really does not. Like if I mean, okay, that's too much of a broad statement. I'm going to take that back. Some people can make it work, right? Some special people.
It's harder though, because then you're just like slowly moving through everything rather than like streamlining a career path.
Yeah, I mean, you can do multiple things within camera. You can do like gaffing, key gripping, DPing, and like best boy grip. You know, you're in that side. If you're in sound, you know, you work boom op, utility, whatever. You know, but you wanna push yourself in like some bracket. You want to be known as something. You know, you can't just be like, oh, I just do something random and like, because then you're not the first person in their mind when they want to hire this specific position. You know, like they can't trust you entirely because you kind of do a bunch of things. Again, some people make it work. Some people
there's exceptions to everything.
That's great. That's just great. That's just great what you're saying, and I think it's so important for actors as well to start career. And unfortunately, you're gonna be typecasted, I guess.
100%.
And that's good to know and be honest with yourself and work for it exactly, so people know that your name is first. Like they're thinking about you.
Exactly.
From the beginning, and then you can go explore.
Yeah, like you have a brand, you have a thing that you do, well, you know.
And then you can branch out.
And then you can branch out, yeah. And I'm curious, like, in terms of acting, would that be like you do one genre? Like, what's your version of that? Like, does it help to do like a lot of one type of role, so you kind of become like an expert in like doing this specific role, or do you not want to pigeonhole yourself and try to be have as much range as you can with like different roles? Like what works better?
I think there's a fine line. I think what Dasha said is very true. You have to learn your typecast, and rather than like work against it, you also don't have to say this is the only thing I do, but like character actors make careers out of being a character actor.
Right. Yeah.
And it's similar. Like you pop up if you want to be the, I don't know, girl next door type, and if you market yourself that way, and if you have that look, and you've done a lot of things that way, it pops up. I know that I like personally am someone who wants to end up doing a lot of other things, and so I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I guess I'm afraid of that, and you've seen it in a lot of people's careers. Like they have only done this one thing, and they're like the blonde kid on Game of Thrones who plays, I'm not good at names, guys, but like it's hard for him to ever be seen as anything but that now.
Right. Yeah. I think especially when it's a huge TV show like that, you're done. Like that is you. You know, it's like if you see like Bryan Cranston in anything, it's weird because I can only see him as Walter White.
Walter White,
You know, he's just that. And same with Gus. Like he's in some movie with he's a cop, but it's
you
like
see him as that.
I can only see him as Gus. Like, you know, you become that character. That is your entire ethos. Like people recognize you on the street not with your name but with your character. You know, and I think I don't know. That's a weird place to be, right? Because then it's harder. It's like you have a lot of thing under your belt. You have this huge character under your belt, which is great. But then people have a hard time like thinking
seeing
of you
as
something
anything
else.
I
So
agree.
I don't know, that's kind of an odd dilemma.
But that's okay. That's a part of a student. That's a part of a student journey. I mean, and we're gonna
We'll
deal
figure
with
it
that.
out. We'll let you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll keep track.
Thank
Jishnu,
you.
it's been wonderful
Thank you.
having you on.
You're just
chatting.
so
Pleasure.
and I'm
Doesn't time
happy.
fly?
I'm happy because I'm thinking now. It's me not being depressed. It's just me being in thought process of who I am as an actor, and I'm really glad that you woke up something in me.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Relationship with the camera and the people on around.
Yeah, totally. Like, you know your lenses, dude. Like, it's so great. Like, watch where the light comes from. You know.
Lenses.
Thank you for DPing for us.
Yeah.
You're awesome today and the 3 previous episodes.
Thank you.
Check this out. Yeah.
Thank you
Take
for the
notes
lottery.
before-
We're still taking donations. Check the links below. Instagram, our social medias are
Links below.
Yeah.
our links below.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys so much.
you.
Thank you, Jishnu.
for
Thank you,
coming
Nizami. Thank you, Evgeny. Thank you. That you're awesome. You're all fucking fantastic. Love you guys.
Yeah. Love you guys. Catch us again next
Love
time.
you. That was fantastic. That was great.
Oh, do you
Yeah,
want to
we
clap
can
with
clap.
us?
Yeah, let's do it
Yeah.
together.
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
That was nice. That's
That was very well coordinated.
Super fast.